Welcome to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and I am so excited today because my guest is my friend and our member of Video Socials, Sonia Saleh. Sonia is the creator of Uplifting Nonprofits, your guide to fundraising with ease. Sonia, I've been waiting for this for a while. I'm so glad to have you.
Hello, Mark. It's good to be here.
The trademark, hello. Love it. So, Sonia, I always like to start my podcast by asking people what's their story. In other words, kind of what's your why? How did you get into? We all have a story, and we all have almost guaranteed multiple careers by the time we, get a little bit of silver hair going on. So what had you do what you're doing, and kind of tying that into, the first question I wanted to ask was, I know that you were in hotels, but how did that work out? What made you decide that you could move from hotels into nonprofits?
So that's really, thank you for asking. It's I think, a very interesting story. I was in hotels. I was the director of sales and marketing. And so in my mind, I was the queen of sales, right? Bringing in multi-million dollars to the hotel industry or to our hotel. And while I was in hotels, in sales and marketing, I was asked to serve on a nonprofit board. And I was honored and tickled. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And what I didn't realize, of course, is that I'm thought of as an ideal board member because I'm able to talk about money, which, they want board members to fundraise. And I have lots of connections because I'm in sales, right? So perfect target for a nonprofit board. I got on the nonprofit board and I was doing fabulous on bringing in money for events, raffles, all those types of things. So the executive director turned to me and said, well, Sonia, since you're so good at that, why don't you reach out to your connections to have them make donations without it being attached to an event or an a-thon or a raffle or any of that. I said, sure, no problem. Got home, made a list of everybody who I was going to call. A few months later, I had not picked up the phone because asking someone for a donation is very different than asking them for a sale. It's very different. And so when I decided, and eventually I went on a journey, I was obviously very frustrated, annoyed and angry with myself because here I was queen of sales and I couldn't do this. I just couldn't ask for straight donations. So I went on a journey. And then when I decided to leave hotels after having served multiple times as a board member on other organizations, I decided I wanted to go save the world. Just a small little thing I wanted to do, go save the world. Well, I came to realize that's not going to happen, that I'm going to save the world. But I can make a difference in the nonprofit space, and I can make a difference when fundraising. But more specifically, as I started my company, Uplifting Nonprofits, I realized my specialty is working with board members. That's my area of expertise, is board members and executive directors on how to ask for a donation.
Right.
Because I had gone through it and now I can do it and I could do it. So it's able to take them on that journey makes such a difference. And that's how I moved from hotel to nonprofits. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Well, and I guess the next question is a little bit self-explanatory, but how does your sales and marketing background, which is different, obviously, for-profit sales versus nonprofit donations, how did that overlap, and what was the disconnect? Right? What new skills did you need to learn, and what do you help your clients with?
So one of the things I had to learn is that, our society, right or wrong, values money for an item, whether that's a service, a tangible, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's a service or a product. And we don't place the value on just a strict donation. Although that is so important because it makes us feel good when we donate and we are making impacts, right?
Right.
So our society as a whole doesn't value that. And the value is the exchange of service or product for money, not
Mm-hmm.
feeling good. And recognizing that was huge for me personally. And I've seen that it is for board members because it's a different ask. You're not giving them anything tangible in exchange. And
Right.
so it feels like you're doing less than, or you're not rewarding them, or you're not acknowledging them. And so that's a huge thing. And what I came to recognize in going through my journey is that it also involves brain science, right? What our brain does and what our brain tells us is stops us. And because we're going out of our comfort zone, right? When we're
Right.
asking now, we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And so we always immediately say, oh, what's wrong with me? Right? That was my huge thing. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I'm doing it in sales. Why not here? And I recognized and started studying that it's also brain science, how our brain holds us back. So it's not us per se. It's a little bit of brain science, a little bit of society, and yes, a touch of us as well. So that's where it came in.
So would it be correct to say that a big part of what you do is to help people kind of get out of their own heads, recognize that the natural impediments that are already there because of the framing that we have around this, the story that we write about what it means to ask for donations, as an example,
Right.
And kind of reprogramming ourselves a little bit, and how are you going to do that without having a guide, without having somebody to coach you do it?
Because you're not aware, right? So you're
Right.
not aware of our own blind spots.
Right.
And until someone points them out, you might go, oh, aha. Do I now then choose to go a different path, or do I just go back to my comfort zone, right? So
Right.
yes, you do need a guide to help you once you make that choice to go, to keep you on it until it becomes part of your habit, right? Or part of
Right.
your new comfort. Let's put it that
Right.
way. So yeah, it is mindset, shifting mindset about money, how
Mm-hmm.
we feel about money, and how we feel about asking. And the one thing money is a huge subject, but the one thing about asking is that most of us have been taught to be very independent and self-reliant. So whether we were raised on it or in school or wherever, most of us are taught this, or I can do it, or I have to do it on my own. So asking for a donation, in a way, is counterintuitive, even though you're asking for an organization, not necessarily yourself. But if
Right.
you're aligned with the organization, you do feel it's for yourself, right? I'm
Right.
asking you to do me a favor, Mark. Please donate to this organization. So it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Asking for help is not in everyone's wheelhouse.
And that brings me to, we're self-sponsored, so video socials, and you're a member of Video Socials, very
Which I
valuable.
love. Go ahead.
Thank you, and we love you. But along that lines, the statistics are insane of how few, tiny percentage of 1% of the world's population is on YouTube, as an example, whereas almost 45% of U.S. adults are watching YouTube videos every day. And so it's like the biggest missed opportunity for the vast majority of. So why is that? Well, we think that, okay, yeah, we should be on video, but I'm not comfortable on video. I don't really know how to do this. But exactly what you were saying, I got to figure it out on my own.
Right.
Well, how does that work?
Right.
Right? It doesn't. Right? maybe 1%, of us can, have the discipline to sit there and sit in front of an inanimate object called a camera and carve out time and actually do it. So we created, and you were a big part of that creation, we created Video Socials as a community to help each other. So you're not doing it alone. We are each other's guides. And so we get together in rooms, 5 to 8 people typically, and Zoom room, and take turns recording videos and giving each other the support, the encouragement, the acknowledgement, and the feedback for tips and suggestions of how we might do a little better next time. It's not a critique. It's not a, and it's not a, just an attaboy kind of thing. It is literally real people having real conversations with each other instead of talking to this inanimate object called a camera. And that allows us to do what you and I are doing right now, which is having a conversation.
Right.
We either of us could still have this conversation, even if the other person wasn't here. Right. That takes practice. That takes some guidance. That takes right. So, but
so we're in the same business. You and I, we're providing.
It really is because
support. But I want to say something that's really important, that what Video Socials provides that I personally love is community, right? So you're finding community of like-minded people in all different sectors and industries and professions, but you're finding like-minded people who want to make a difference. And yes, it is promoting ourselves, our industries, our business, but we're doing it from a place of compassion, right? So when we're in this group that thankfully you all have created, you feel safe making the videos. It's a safe space. And when I tried to do it on my own, I had all my head talk coming in, right? No, this isn't good. You need to do this. While doing it there, their feedback, which 99% of the time is so positive and reassuring and encouraging, is so helpful to take me to a place here. I mean,
right.
Several years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this on video. No, I'd be like, okay, let's do it on the phone. Let's do it on a phone, right? Yeah. So, Video Socials has helped my personal growth immensely, and thank you, really.
Well, and thank you, and I think that first of all, my mission in life is to make a difference for those who make a difference in the world. So it's like, it's the perfect fit. This is my life's work, and it's so fulfilling for me because not only are we getting our videos done, not only are we getting, and your website is fantastic, which is upliftingnonprofits.com, right? Yeah, upliftingnonprofits.com. And you've got a bunch of your videos there, and you have your YouTube channel. There'll be links below, folks, for all of this stuff. But the ability to get it done is such a big deal from a business perspective. But while we're getting it done, it's actually an experiential program in a community in which we're learning by doing.
Exactly.
And so it really becomes personal development.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And what you just said is what inspires me to really to really be so engaged in it as I am, because it's not just getting the videos done. You have and you've laid it out. You've become a more whole and complete business professional in doing it, because it's a whole different level of communication skill. It's that gets developed. Exactly. It's a whole different level of being able to connect with people, even if you're not in the same room with them.
I'd like to add to that, if I may, Mark, that, it was interesting when I was going to start my own business, and I didn't need help from anybody, right? Because I know it all, right? In our heads, or I can do it all, whatever that was. I knew that writing is not one of my top strengths. So today, in today's world, content is king. And writing is one of those ways to do content. And I knew that was not going to be, at that point, beneficial to me.
Right.
I needed to be vocal because I'm comfortable speaking. I enjoy speaking and sharing and participating with others, right? So, and thankfully there are those who are very good on written content, thankfully. So when this came around, what an opportunity for me to be able to share myself in a way that I'm comfortable with the world. Let's just put it that way, because everything is global today, right? So it gives the opportunity of the know, like, trust in a different way than the written. And I just can't tell you how I'm appreciative of it. And the feedback that I've gotten because I do it this way is so positive. And that people get to know me a little bit, because of this, as opposed to the written, because that's not my strength, right?
Right.
Yeah. So thank you for having this. Yeah.
Well, and thank you. And it's and folks, it's videosocials.net, and there's a guest tab at the top of the screen. There's no cost, there's no obligation. Please come as a guest and check it out. Note, you will be supported, you will be encouraged, you will not be criticized, and approach it from the standpoint of it's a practice. Sometimes those practices kind of work out, and we've got something that we're happy to publish. And sometimes not, but you've got to go through it. You've got to do it a number of times before you're going to get your sea legs underneath you. And if you're trying to do it on your own, God bless you, but if you've been trying to do it on your own and it's not working, please come check us out.
Well, I've gotten two things that are my brand because of doing this. One is hello, 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 which is my greeting. And the other one is that I'm your guide to fundraising with ease. Right. And so that came because I had to create the wording to connect. Right. And so, yeah, that's a benefit that I never expected, is the branding like that.
So perfect. But and the thing is and I really do want people to check out your website, to check out your YouTube channel, because as you were talking earlier, if somebody wants to transition from sales and marketing, or maybe even they don't even have that background. Maybe they're just, a corporate leader or something like that, and they're now on a board, or they're involved with a nonprofit, and they find themselves being asked to reach out and start asking people for donations and doing fundraising. They need support for that. They need some information on how to do that. And you've provided, because you've created so many videos, you've provided a wonderful library of tips and ideas on how to get started with that, and the mindset that you need to gain. So upliftingnonprofits.com, guys, you definitely want to check that out. And you're also, Sonia, you've got a workshop coming up, don't you, in March?
Yeah, I do. What I've started doing actually is not just March, but monthly workshops. These are free monthly workshops. They're for an hour, and coming in and sharing information. And I find that they're beneficial to many who come in, right? They get an idea, and then they can run with it. Hopefully they take it and run. And so this first one is about, finding board members. The one next is creating a board fundraising plan. So they're little things to move you forward in the nonprofit world. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's again another way of connecting, right? Another way.
Well, yeah, and you're giving it away for free, right? So it's like people, it's not just get a sample, but they can actually get something useful, something that's valuable for them. That they,
yeah, each time they have a takeaway. They have a takeaway, right. So and a project that they've completed or worked on, so they can take it away and then carry on with it.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what would be the one thing that you would encourage people who, let's say, for example, somebody is now on a board, they find themselves in the same situation that you were. What's the one thing that they need to know, they need to think about, that they can focus on to ease them into, to help them shift their mindset?
Call me. No, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. No, no. The one thing, though, is to realize that you are inviting partnerships. You are not asking for donations. You are inviting partnerships. That's really shifting.
Right.
A simple little mindset there is if you think of it as an invitation as
Right.
opposed to an ask. It's a very different thing.
And are they not also being asked to join a community?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
And it's a like-minded community. Yeah. It's first of all, when you are a board member, you are in a like-minded community. And then
Right.
you obviously, because of who you are, you know like-minded people.
Right.
And so when you invite them to learn about the organization, then it makes sense. It's a match, right? It's a match. And I think that is what the new board members need to learn, or even seasoned board members. I've had board members who've been on a board for a long time. And, in general, board members are very giving, very compassionate. They'll do anything but fundraise. Do anything but fundraise. So shifting it and having them understand that they are creating partnerships with like-minded people, as you're eloquently putting it, is a softer way to look at it. And that's what we want to do, is soften it, because it seems so Mark, give me money, as opposed to, Mark, do you know about us? What do you think? Is this in alignment with you?
Right.
Can you see yourself supporting something like this? It's a much softer scenario.
Yeah, and it's only going to happen if people actually can feel connected to it, right? So it generally speaking, unless you're talking about foundations that have giving requirements and things like that, I think for the average nonprofit, that's a bit of a level above. What you're actually asking people to do is to form a relationship with that team, with that organization, and with that organization's mission.
Exactly.
Right? And they're contributing, and you're asking them to contribute to that, perhaps with money, perhaps with a board membership, perhaps with volunteerism. But the thing is that they need to feel a part of it. And so you're not just asking them to open a checkbook, you're asking them to be engaged and support and encourage and frankly to share that with friends, and whatnot, because you're right, as somebody who has contributed, as I think almost all of us have at one point or another, it feeds your soul. It's not just you feel good. It actually, when you make a difference in the world, I already shared my mission, but when you're fulfilling the mission of making a difference in people's lives, and for these organizations that are making a difference in people's lives, you're right, we are in the same business.
So interesting as you're saying that, and that most of us don't realize. We like to think that and it's true, we are doing it to make a difference, but in doing it, it makes us feel good. So really, in many ways, it's a selfish act. And when you say that, people are like, what? I'm like, no, when you help somebody else, you feel good. So you want to help somebody else, right? Yes. Because it makes you feel good. I mean, it's that type of cycle. And yeah, I think more need to recognize that.
Yeah, because it's not a one-way street. It's literally and those who've done it, because when you start, especially when you start seeing some results from it, I mean, it's
yes. And the expression, it's better to give than receive. I am not in agreement. I think it's better to give and receive. So when I give to the organization, I'm receiving satisfaction and I'm receiving feel good, right? And my pheromones and endorphins and all that are like, woo, right? So it's better to give and receive.
Yeah, and sometimes that reception is what you gave me a few minutes ago was talking about the impact that being on Video Socials has had for you. You know, that's not just a feel good, because I also take that and then I share that with everyone else, and we're sharing it here, right? So
Exactly.
It provides a pathway for people to engage and feel like they're part of a community and feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, something that's beyond just making a lot of money or
Right.
or creating a successful business, but actually putting those resources and time and energy into something that frankly makes the world a little bit better of a place. Right.
Yes.
And enough of us make that small contribution, engagement, that helps to offset some of the other garbage that's going on in the world today.
I have to tell you, and since you brought that up, I do believe, and there are statistics that prove that people are more positive in doing good and more kind in doing good than we hear about anywhere in our newses, right? So that's all about creating the fear. And I'm not against news, and it serves a purpose. Yet I think I know there needs to be balance and hear more the stories of human kindness versus the atrocities that go on.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's almost a complete vacuum of at least in the mainstream media.
Yes.
Every once in a while you get the human interest story. No, it shouldn't be an every once in a while. It should be, as you say, balance, because for every atrocity that you see, there's an act of generosity that counteracts that, if not two or three or four. Exactly. And yet we're not presented with, because it's not triggering our fear, our fight or flight,
Exactly.
It's like they've gotten in. It's so formulaic at this point that all they're going to do is push on the fear mongering and the division and the et cetera, et cetera. And the reality is that that's really a small percentage of what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world is there's a lot of people helping other people kind of get, and move society and move the world to a better place.
I mean, one of the great examples I think of that is, politics aside, whatever you feel or you don't, is the war in Ukraine, right? And you hear all the horrors and the atrocities which are happening, yet we're not hearing about all the people who are supporting and donating and rescuing. And, I mean, I'm with Rotary, and I can't tell you the Rotary initiative. And, you just go anywhere and there's like, donate for Ukraine, do this for Ukraine, send supplies, send this. So there's so much good happening to help, but that's not being focused on, right? And so, it's to your point, exactly to your point. Yeah, being in the nonprofit world, the nonprofits are there to solve situations, but being in the nonprofit world shows me how much people care about making it better. And so that helps me to stay positive and know that the world will be okay. Believe it or not, it will be. Anyway, we went on this whole philosophy stretch.
Well, but isn't it the philosophy that drives the action, right? That if you don't believe in what you're doing, it's like if you're involved in a nonprofit, right? So I'm going to sell for you, right? So if you're involved in if you're involved in a nonprofit, there's a reason that you're involved. Whether you be a paid employee, whether you be an intern, whether you be a board member, whether you be a volunteer, whatever, there's a reason you're involved.
Right.
And by not sharing that and not asking other people to also engage and to buy into and to participate in that mission, there's the reason that you're there, aren't you being stingy?
Yeah.
and yes, when you go just to do it, you're probably going to run into these little mental games these little tricks that your mind's going to play on you, and the stories of your past and all the other stuff. And so, call
So
Sonia.
many triggers. Yes, call Sonia. Thank you. Yes, I'll send you the $1 million check after this recording.
No, but at the very least, check out your content online, because it's brilliant. And thank you for making it. Because we attract, through all of our services, frankly, we attract those who are trying to make a difference in the world and are being generous with their knowledge and their expertise, because I often say, who wants to see an infomercial in their social media feed? Nobody, right? But if you're giving away something, if you're being generous and then getting the feedback of how valuable that is,
Right.
I just love what I do. I love what you do. And it sounds like we're pretty much in the same business in some ways.
We are.
But Sonia, absolutely delightful to have you today. Anything that you want to add in closing, or you?
I just want to say a couple things. One, life is a joy. Look for it. Two, thank you for Video Socials. I highly recommend people go there. And three, come to Uplifting Nonprofits also. So, you are making a difference. Each person, whoever is listening to this broadcast, is also making a difference in their own way. And don't diminish your own differences. And thank you for making them, whoever you are. Thank you.
Don't diminish your own differences. And thank you. I have to mimic that. Sonia, it's been an absolute pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.